Hey guys, it's me, Kevin, and I am with Jet, who joins us for the first time. How are you, Jet?
Dzień dobry. How
Yeah,
is everyone?
the connection is quite unstable, so bear with me for that. How does it feel to be on KDStudios, Jet?
It's such an honor to be on this channel.
Yeah, yeah. As I said, just be a little bit wary about internet connection. There might be slight delays. Apologies for that in advance. Anyway, today in this video, we will be talking about the AFL Grand Final, which is a big talking point in the AFL community because the MCG, it's contracted to be played at the MCG for every year until 2057, the AFL Grand Final, that is. But it's in doubt because of the current coronavirus spike in Victoria. In Melbourne, there's about a triple-digit amount of cases every day. And if the situation worsens or doesn't improve by October, then the Grand Final is in doubt of being played at the MCG. So other cities are putting their hands up for the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to host the Grand Final at the in their respective states. Obviously, there's the contract that it has to be part of the MCG, but if the situation doesn't improve, do you think it should be held in Victoria, or do you think it should be hosted elsewhere? And if elsewhere, where do you think it should be?
Well, as we've seen so far nationwide across the 6 states of Australia, Victoria seemed to be the state that performs the weakest in terms of regulating COVID-19 restrictions. And because of this, furthermore, I believe that the grand final should be held outside of Victoria.
Yeah. Do you have any specific opinions on which state should host the grand final, or just any out of Victoria?
Western Australia seems to be a good choice, as they have the best border security for Australia, and they've handled COVID-19 regulations quite well.
Hmm. So, you think it might be like a safety thing, do you think, in your opinion?
Yes,
Yeah.
and especially with accommodation.
I don't think accommodation would be a big issue in any state that hosts it. In my opinion, the location of the grand final should be dependent on the teams that make the grand final. Although Gil McLachlan does want to make an announcement of the grand final venue in August, and I'll explain whether that's a good idea or not in a few minutes, but I honestly think that it should be dependent on the teams that make the grand final. My reasoning is if it's a West Coast v Port Adelaide grand final, you want the grand final to either be in Perth or Adelaide to get a maximum attendance. Likewise, if it's a GWS Brisbane grand final, there's no point hosting it in Adelaide. You're not going to get too many fans, neither in WA. The best place to host that sort of grand final would be in Brisbane or in Sydney. With Victoria, and this is a big if the situation improves in Victoria and there's no cases by October, then I think they can still host the grand final only if the highest ranked team is Victorian. So if it's a Collingwood v Richmond grand final or Collingwood v GWS grand final, then sure, it could go to Victoria, but that's a big if. And if we get to a situation where we can't play in Victoria and the grand final is between, let's say, Collingwood and West Coast, and Collingwood's the higher ranked team, I would hold it in Perth because West Coast, they'll get a lot of fans in, and you'll get a lot of fans, Eagles fans that are local to Perth will come to the ground. I know arguments, well, isn't Collingwood the higher ranked team? Well, whatever. We've seen in the last few years that the non-Victorian team is higher ranked, but they still have to play at the lower ranked team's ground, so it doesn't really matter. So yeah, that is my opinion, is to maximize crowds, try and get it in a state where at least one of the two teams are native to that state. What do you think of that analysis?
Yes, I can understand your held Victorian. Then yes, I do agree that the grand final should be held in that state
Yeah.
because of travelling and whatnot.
Yeah. Um, yeah. And I'm more thinking on the fans because you're not going to get too many fans traveling interstate to watch a grand final. You're better off trying to get out one of the teams' home cities. Um, but what do you think? Obviously, for my suggestion to work, they would have to make the announcement at the very least at the end of round 17 or even the week before the grand final. But the AFL wants to hold it to make the announcement in August. When do you think it should be announced, the grand final?
I believe that the grand final should be announced sometime in August, perhaps, so that way there's that preparation and settlement on where the grand final should be held at what ground.
Yeah, I think
It
that's
shouldn't be decided at the very last minute. Give
yeah,
time for travelling costs and accommodation, you know, and even with telecommunications.
I mean, yeah, I would say like in terms of teams traveling, like the actual squads traveling and the broadcasters, I think should be all right. I mean, obviously fans that one would be a concern, but as I said, if it's like a West Coast Collingwood grand final in Perth, you get the Eagles fans going to Perth, and probably Victorians won't be able to fly to Perth anyway. So, and the thing is, one of the main reasons why I think the AFL would also want to announce the grand final early is also to try and get pre-match entertainment there. Do you think pre-match entertainment will be available this year, given the costs that the AFL are trying to cut? Do you think it will be there, or do you think they'll just deem it unnecessary?
It'll be deemed unnecessary
Yeah.
because if we compare AFL with other sporting agencies, other sporting leagues, and you'll see that the pre-match entertainment that they'll have, let's say at the Super Bowl for NFL, this like the halftime entertainment
Yeah.
is specifically televised. Is specifically televised for TV. Well, I mean, obviously, it's not really intended for the crowd attendance
Yeah.
because it's a lot better. It appears more extravagant, televised as opposed to actually watching it live. But with the pre-match entertainment, given the uh, slash in budget costs for the AFL, COVID-19 regulations and attendance, I don't think that pre-match entertainment will be rendered useful.
Yeah. And if they're not,
So no, I don't think that pre-match entertainment will be.
yeah. And if it's not, then I see no reason why we can't just wait till the week before the grand final. Because you look at the A League, as you know, they don't have pre-match entertainment. They just decide the grand final straight after the preliminary final. They still get pretty good attendances. Thing is, like you take Perth Sydney last year, they announced it 1 week just before the grand final that it'd be played at Optus Stadium. All the Perth Glory fans living in Perth straight away booked their tickets, and you got about 55,000 Perth Glory fans over at Optus. So I don't see the reason, if we're not getting pre-match entertainment, I don't see the reason why we can't just wait till the week before the grand final, figure out who's playing in the grand final, and then decide a venue there. But if it wasn't decided on clubs, there would be 5 different options for where the grand final should be held. For different reasons, I'll mention Victoria first. Okay, obviously in Victoria, the reasons for holding the grand final, contract, tradition, the fact that half the Victorian clubs are based there. But then the massive, and also if by some miracle they get full crowds back, they can get 100,000 in there. But against that last point is very unlikely to happen. And the COVID situation doesn't seem to be getting better. You don't think Victoria will be hosting the grand final this year, do you?
No.
Yeah, no. Would you accept it if both teams were Victorian and the situation improved? Would you accept it or not really?
Exemptions would be made in that scenario.
Yeah. Yeah, but I just can't see the situation improving. New South Wales, what do you think's going to happen? Do you think there'll be a COVID spike in New South Wales, given what's happened in that one hotel in Penrith plus the Star? Are they bracing for a big COVID spike? Do you think?
Possibly. It's likely.
Yeah.
And a result of that may influence where the grand final will be held. So that's one state down.
Yeah, because it would have been good because they would have had about 80,000 fans, second biggest stadium behind the MCG. I would have definitely selected that stadium if GWS or Sydney, which won't happen, were to make the grand final. I would have thought 80,000 GWS fans, albeit most of them bandwagon fans. I thought it would have been good for the game, to be honest. As you said, COVID spike likely, so it might be an option. Another state that's put its hand up to host the grand final is Queensland. Obviously, they said
Queensland.
Obviously they've helped the AFL in starting it up again. They've hosted teams that can't play in their home state up on the Gold Coast. We saw that with West Coast Free on the two South Australian sides, and most of the Victorian teams. So obviously they want reward for what they have done to the AFL in getting it up and running. What do you think?
I'm cool with that. I'm cool with Queensland restarting AFL.
Yeah, I guess the one issue with Queensland, however, is they're not traditionally an AFL state and they don't have the same interest. I mean, Gold Coast fans don't even know. Gold Coast residents don't even know who players like Nick Natanui, Dustin Martin, Nat Pfeiffer. So obviously, Brisbane and Gold Coast were to make it. I'd put my hand up. Most likely venue would be the GABBA, but again, it's smaller as well. So the GABBA is smaller than other venues. Then you've also got South Australia and Western Australia, traditional AFL states. Adelaide Oval hosts 55. Optus Stadium can host 60. And Mark McGowan's got the toughest borders and arguably the safest state, while South Australia has done quite well to combat the virus as well. Who do you think would be the front runner?
I hope that it's going to be Western Australia.
Yeah.
Based on what we've seen with Mark McGowan, our Premier.
Yeah.
We have the toughest border restrictions.
After what I heard about with those hotels in Penrith and the potential outbreak in Sydney, I think if they were to make a decision in August, I think Optus Stadium will host the grand final. Nonetheless, my position is that they should wait till the preliminary final, decide, locate which teams will make the grand final. So see which teams make the grand final and then decide a venue from there based on the situation. Because remember, this is an ever-changing situation, the coronavirus situation. I mean, we're saying now WA's fine. Who knows, maybe in a month, we could be in the midst of a massive outbreak. Unlikely, but I mean, it could happen. So, yeah, that's my opinion on it. Anyway, Jet, thanks for coming on the video. I hope you liked this video. Please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe. Please comment what you thought of the video down below. What did you think of Jet's performance? Hoping that he can come on the channel at times and he can also make his input on some of the biggest AFL talking points. I'm going to try and do more of these videos. Just continue to tune into them. Anyway, I will definitely see you sometime soon, and potentially Jet as well will be in another video. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.
До widzenia.
I think he likes to speak Russian. How much Russian do you know, actually?
Polish.
Oh, it's Polish.
A little bit.
Okay.
Polish, yeah.
Yeah.
Apologies for any minor inconveniences with audio and visual transmissions and my slight unpreparedness with these matters.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's another
It is my first session.
Yeah. And that's another thing. We were, for those that don't know, we were actually trying to find like 5 different ways to try and film this. We actually started filming this halfway through on trying to FaceTime, like trying to call each other, and then we'd film it with our camera. And that didn't work. So we had to try this. So yeah. Hope this turned out all right. But yeah, so there were some inconveniences, but hopefully I edited most of them out. But anyway, we'll see you later. Goodbye.
See ya.
See ya.